Here we have the worry level tracker worksheet. That is a way you can have your patients keep track of things that they're nervous about in their journals that they dedicate just to their therapy sessions. But you can also use this worksheet with them. I kind of go in between. I just ask them which they would prefer. So what happens is you have the situation over here. You rate how worried they were before, how worried they were after, and then they record what exactly happened. What was the outcome? Was it better than expected? Was it as expected? Worse than expected? So that they start keeping a record of, hey, you know what? Every time I am worried about something, anything really, I'm a 8 out of 10 or to 10 out of 10 with worry. And after, I always feel better eventually, right? Like maybe right after they don't feel 100% better, but generally they do. They always feel a little bit better after the feared event, right? Because it's over. They've managed it. Even if the outcome was worse than expected, we still feel better when that unknown is resolved. So let's put the example of going out for drinks with coworkers. Okay. So let's say before they were like a 7 out of 10. They were like kind of dreading it. They were a little worried. They went out for drinks with coworkers. And afterwards, it went to a 0 because it was fine, right? And you can even talk about this before they go out. Like what's the worst thing that could happen with you going out for drinks with your coworkers? The worst thing that could happen is really realistically is that it's going to be a little bit boring, right? And you're going to try and maybe get out of there. Maybe it's a little awkward. Maybe it's a little boring. That's the worst case scenario. And that's not that bad. It's really not that bad. It's kind of, not great, but it's also not that big of a deal. But in our minds, we think that this time is going to be different. I know it. This time I'm going to say something wrong. I'm going to put my foot in my mouth, But you just proved to them that they were really worried before, and after it went from a 0 out of 10. So what happened? They were a little bored. They said something awkward. And then talk to them about that. How do they know that they said something awkward? Did somebody say, that was awkward? I wish you hadn't said that. So remember, if they say something like that, like I said something awkward that I wish I hadn't said, which they probably wouldn't think if it was a 0 after, so maybe they're more like a 2, okay? Then talk to them about that. Like, are you sure you said something awkward, or do you just feel like you said something awkward? Because there's a difference between knowing you said something awkward and just feeling like you said something awkward, right? Knowing is a fact, feeling is just a feeling. So go through that with them. Say, did anyone tell you that what you said was awkward? They will say no. Almost 100% of the time they say no, right? And you can be like, well, then it sounds like that was just a feeling without any evidence to back it up. So let's move on. What else happened with this? It was a little bored. They said something awkward. Maybe, right? We don't have any evidence. No evidence so far, right? Okay. Now, let's say, so for me, I always give the example of, I used to have really bad social anxiety with dinner parties and barbecues because I am just not a small talk person. Like I either want to have like a very in-depth conversation with someone or I want to be at like a massive party, right? So I tell, this to my patients that I would, let's say it's a Monday, I make plans with people to have dinner with them on Friday. Maybe I plan the dinner or maybe they're going to have a dinner. And I say yes on Monday. And then for the rest of the week, I would spend all this time trying to figure out how to get out of this. The dinner's on Friday, right? So I spend Monday through Friday trying to figure out how to get out of this dinner because I was so anxious about going for really no reason at all because I have no evidence to be anxious. It always is fine. It's maybe a little boring, but it's always fine. And by the time Friday would come, I would bail. I would be like, I don't feel good. I can't go. Right? And I would do this every time. So now what I do is if I say yes to an engagement, no matter how far it is in the future, I do not think about that again until it is time to go to that party or that engagement. Because it's a lot more stressful to spend the time trying to figure out how to get out of this thing that you already said yes to than to just go to the thing you said yes to. It's not going to be that bad. Again, worst case scenario, it's a little boring and you can always leave, right? So that's something I started doing, and that's also something I advise my patients to do too. So if you say yes to something, that's it. Don't think about it again until it's time to go to the party. Because as you will learn from this experience, from tracking this, it always goes as expected or better than expected. And that has 100% been my experience with my dreaded barbecues and drinks out with people. Do I still, say yes to those things, even though they're not my favorite? Sure, I do, and I go to those sometimes. But, I try to, for me personally, it makes more sense to just be one-on-one with people or, again, at a big party. Okay, so we say yes to having dinner at a friend's with some people we don't know super well. Okay. Before this event, maybe we are an 8 out of 10. Maybe we are just like really nervous. Again, like our stomach's upset. We're really nervous about going over to this house for dinner where we don't know the people super well. And then after we leave, it's a 0 out of 10. And actually, it went better than expected. We had a really good conversation with someone we didn't know very well. Made some new connections. Went home in bed by 10:30. Right? It's pretty good. Went well. Okay. So again, this is just a way for people to track evidence. Writing this stuff down helps us retain the information better, and being able to reflect on it gives us that evidence. So now, next time there's a dinner, we don't have to worry about it. We don't need to go to this 8 out of 10 for worry, because we're definitely going to go to a 0 out of 10 based on the evidence we've built. So practice this with your patients in session, if they have like an example where you could do this with, just so that they have an example to work off of, and then have them do this at least once if they have the opportunity before your next meeting.